The audio that you're about to listen to was taken from our Instagram live stream.
Welcome, ladies, gents, and our non-binary friends, to Spoiler Sleepover, a Nerd Camp Network production. All right, welcome back to Spoiler Sleepover. This is going to be our awesome part 2. We're going to do a franchise breakdown with Chris O'Brockie. Really excited to have him on. I met Chris last year at Creature Feature Weekend, and he is he knows the ins and outs. He knows everything to know about Scream.
Hey, it's me again. This joke isn't tiring at all.
There's a wall. Hey!
Doing that. I wish it would just start on your face like a normal selfie would when you flip your camera on. Like, I don't know why it does that. It's
Damn.
I actually found out there is a setting where you can change that. But
all right, yeah. I
Wish I knew that on
need
the
to get on
first
that.
episode. You just saw the cul-de-sac.
I like your setup in the back. You weren't joking about doing a full screen setup.
Yeah. I had to give you a little bit of that, and then I had to give you a little merman too. You know, that's best of both worlds.
Perfect. So, well, thank you so much for coming on. Like, this is exciting. The minute I knew that we were going to be doing this, I was like, you know what? We need the legend, the person who knows the most about Scream that I've ever met in my life, to come on and do a breakdown. Obviously, spoil everything. That's what the point of this podcast is. Right. We are here to try and find an appreciation for these movies.
And that's fine. That's why I'm here. You know, there are horror movies that people like that I'm not crazy about, but you know, I'm just here to be a guiding light and you know just you know, spill the tea and shoot the shit with you guys. So if you guys walk away from this, you know, with a little bit more of appreciation for Scream as a whole, you know, then I did my job well. And if not, that's still okay. We'll still have some drinks at Creature Feature.
And that's what we're looking for. So we're going to start right off the bat with Scream 1.
All right.
I have liner notes. So my little liner notes, I have like little complaints and stuff, but my major thing is I really wanted to do a kill count. So starting off with Scream 1, we have Stu and Billy are our ghost faces.
Yes.
And they kill 6 people. I don't know why I remembered them killing way more, but I mean 6 is still pretty decent for a first movie.
Yeah, I mean it seems like it's more just because, you know, there's just so much happening in the first movie, but no, it's a very bare minimum count. Kind of like the original Halloween. Like it's such a slow little kill count and everything, but it seems bigger just because of how it was done, so. Yeah.
But all right, so the origin. Now, here's my question. I used to know at one point in time where the origin of the mask and like the whole suit came from. Like, obviously the mask is from a painting, but like what brought this to be? Because it wasn't just the movie.
Right. Well, how they acquired the Ghostface mask. at the time when they were filming, when they were already on location. Now, I've seen the mock-up designs of what they originally wanted the mask to look like, and Jesus Christ, it's bad. It's so bad. I'm like seeing these designs, and I'm like, what the hell are you thinking at the time? So, but they were on location, and they were filming at this house, and upstairs in the house, this woman had she had like a couple like Halloween decorations and everything, and she had this mask, and it was this is like early 90s. So by the time they were filming Scream, this was in early 1996. So there was a company that was around called Fun World. So this woman had this mask, and Wes Craven like really liked the mask, and they want or he wanted to use it, but all the the producers and everything, and the effing Weinsteins, because they make all kind of great decisions. So yeah, exactly. So they were like, no, we're not doing that. So Wes Craven basically said like, hey, maybe we can make a mask sort of like this. So they developed the K&B mask, and that's the mask that you actually see a lot of it in the opening scene with Drew Barrymore. And it's a little more like smaller, and the eyes are a little more, and then it's just, and the mouth is tiny.
It looks like a microwaved marshmallow, practically.
Yeah, basically, it looks like something you would buy at Dollar Tree. So
Yeah.
But then they did a couple test shots with it, and then Wes Craven's basically like, we need to get that other mask because this looks like shit. So basically, so they go back and they find out, they contact Fun World, and they decide, they get the rights to use the mask, which actually was not a lot. And they reshot a lot of the stuff in the opening, and then that's how the mask came to be in Scream. And originally, the costume was originally going to be white with the Ghostface mask.
Really?
Yeah, because Wes Craven thought like, oh, it's going to look great with blood showing up on it and everything. And they did a couple test shots once they had that mask, and they had the rights to it of, a white version of the costume, like outside around bushes, and it didn't look right. So the costume designer, I can't remember her name right off the top of my head, but she went kind of like on a hunt to find fabric to make this costume, and that's where she found the black sparkly lurex material. And that's how the costume was created. And once they paired it with the Ghostface mask, they were like, you know what, this is scary. This is it. This is what we're gonna do. So they were already filming Scream before they even had this mask, technically.
That's crazy. See, I
now want to see a cut with the white outfit. That'd be
right.
That'd be
If you kind of like surf a little bit online, you can find pictures of like fan-made white Ghostface costumes. It's actually kind of cool looking, but of course, none of them have like blood splattered on them, because that's sure as hell what I would do if I had a white Ghostface costume.
Oh.
So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it had been so long since I watched any of them that I did not remember that there was glitter. Like, honestly, the fact that the cloak was shiny, I had not remembered until I saw you this year at Creature Feature wearing it, and I was just like, oh yeah, it was shiny. And
I actually corrected a couple people at Creature Feature Weekend because they were like, oh, glittery Ghostface? I'm like, actually, that's how the robe has always looked.
yeah.
Get off my level, nerds. You don't know shit.
Yeah,
I actually got a brand new Ghostface robe, actually from the company that I originally wanted it from, Scream Robes. Like, guys, if you ever, anybody watching, if you're ever looking to get a legit screen accurate Scream robe, they're a great company to go through. Now, Cosplay, who did my first robe, is a great company. Like, they will do it up for you. So,
yes.
shout out to these amazing robe makers while we're talking about this.
The teaser photo that I did for this part of the episode is actually, granted it's in black and white, Chris is actually wearing that robe in that photo. And there's other photos. I don't know, you haven't uploaded the photos yet for the shoot?
I haven't posted them all. I should have busted out the robe here and had it ready to go so I could hold it up.
Well, there will be a time for that to happen. All right. So JB said he witnessed you actually correct somebody, so that's pretty amazing. Oh, I love it. Yeah, because you were at the Camp Nightmare table.
Yeah,
like
very grateful to our Camp Nightmare friends for letting me be able to sit down for a little bit.
They're always open to have family sit, no strangers. Because I didn't even realize it was you at first. You just walked over and you're like, "Hey, bud." It wasn't until you said something I was just like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "It's Chris." I was like, "What is this fucking?"
I did that in Monster Mania back in October last year here in Hunt Valley. I debuted my Halloween 2 Michael Myers cosplay, and I walked past so many people I knew, and they had no clue it was me under there because I didn't post about it or anything like that. So, and then I walk up to a good friend of mine and I say some joke only he and I would know, and then he turns around and he's like, "Holy shit!"
Those conventions are just perfect for like strangers and just weirdos to just get way too close to you, and it always skeeves me out. I know it skeeves JB out. It makes us. I don't get away from me. I don't know you. Like, I don't know you. My demeanor completely changed. I was like, all right, dude, cool. You're dressed like Ghostface, and you're like, hey, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, all right, I know this person. It's okay now. So I wrote a lot of notes for 1 through 3. I'm not going to get into any of them. I think it was just I had to write notes for me to continue watching them. I texted Jason Michael while I was watching 1, and I was just like, so I've paused it like 6 times because I keep getting bored. And I just kept walking away, and I was just like, all right, I can do this. I didn't make it. I made it through 3. 4 isn't streaming anywhere for free, at least.
They just took it down. It was on Netflix for a long time.
Huh. Oh gosh, it chose bad timing.
Why? You know why? Because the new movie came out, so that's what they do. They take it down and then they make you pay for it, bitches.
And that's what it's like $2.99 or $3.99 right now. But I will stick to the bullet points, and by bullet points of my liner notes, I mean I'm going to repeat myself from part 1. I continuously just wrote that Gale Weathers is a bitch. Like that.
I mean, she is a bitch. Yeah. And I mean, even here, jumping back into the backstory of the making of this movie, Courtney Cox actually pushed for this role like big time because, she was at the height of when Friends started getting really popular, and she kind of grilled Wes Craven and like kind of really pushed on him, like, and she basically said to him, like, don't look at me as the girl from Friends. Like, I can play bitch. I can be mean. I can play this role. I am fucking Gale Weathers. So, and then he was just like,
Courtney Cox does her job perfectly. She makes us hate her. She's the best actor in this entire franchise.
And honestly, I mean, nothing against Nev. I love Nev to death. She is like the ultimate final girl, but I honestly, Gale has always been my favorite character because I find her the most interesting, and it's like whenever that bitch rolls up on screen, like it's gonna be a good time.
Someone's about to get
some crazy thing's gonna come flying out of her mouth. Like, she's entertaining as hell. It's a great character.
Not to mention, someone's gonna hit her. Yeah. So, what else did I wrote some really random ones. Gale calls somebody a bubble butt at one point in part 1, which I thought was hilarious because it was
tub of lard ass. That was her cameraman that she called that.
Yeah. Oh no, she calls Billy a bubble butt. She calls Billy bubble butt boyfriend Billy, and it's
that was the cheerleader in the bathroom. You know, she has her own bubble butt boyfriend, Billy. There you go.
I just love the fact that that was considered an insult, and now it's a compliment. It's
Yeah,
so,
90s.
like, no, bubble butt's a good thing now. Like back then, it was like bubble butt boyfriend. I'm like, damn, your boyfriend's got a booty. Good for him, man. Like,
I know, because now everybody's gonna be looking for it after that one.
All right, so I'm just gonna go through the kill count if you're cool with that. And I think that this open forum conversation is a lot more fun. And we'll just go through the movies randomly. I'll bring up some random facts and stuff. So part 2, Nancy and Mickey are the killers. I had completely forgotten that was Laurie Metcalf from Roseanne. I was just like, wait, what? I was like, oh yeah, she's in this. I completely had forgotten. But she's Billy's mom. They killed 8 people, so they upped it by 2. Which is pretty great.
Isn't this the one where he just starts singing in the cafeteria? And there's like
yeah.
You know, Scream 2 is my absolute favorite one in the franchise. It's the first one I saw in the theater, and you know, but still to this day, when that scene comes up, it's just I fast forward through it because I'm like, I get what they were going for, but we don't need this in a Scream movie. Like, come on.
No, it was so corny. It was
so
super uncomfortable.
Bad.
I mean, most of 2 was very like. I feel like they were getting too punchy with some of the stuff. Him giving
2 was kind of the step where that's 2 was the movie that really solidified Scream in pop culture and became more. You started really seeing that it was getting more self-aware and more contained on itself, and they really took it. They really took it there with Scream 3, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. So, in my liners for 2, I have, and I quote, "Wow, Gail is still a bitch." So yeah, there's that. There's that. There's a bunch of other stuff. The reference I brought up in part 1, the ending sequence of 2 in the theater is mirrored in 6.
Yes, there's a lot of Scream 2 in Scream 6, which I was okay with because, like I said, that's my favorite one. So
yeah, and I completely, once again, like I said, I completely forgotten because it's been so long. I love that ending, and Laurie Metcalf goes ham during that scene. Like buddy, like she
is the fire in Scream 2, like hands down.
She does an amazing job. I mean, that's Aunt Jackie to me. I mean, I still love Roseanne today. So, all right. So in 3, we have one killer, and it's Roman.
The only ones who have one killer.
Take everything you know, throw it right out the window.
And he kills 9 people. One person.
Like Roman was dishing in that one.
Yeah. And I stand by it. So it's been a while. I rewatched 3 today. I still like 3. It's the one to me that has rewatch value simply because of how over the top meta it is.
Yeah.
And it becomes it's the first one that starts to tilt towards comedy.
Yes.
And like heavily with one of the best cameo walk-ons I've seen in a horror movie ever with Jay and Silent Bob walking on screen. And it's not Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes. It is Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah.
Scream 3 came out in 2000. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back came out in 2001, just the next year.
Yeah.
And there is a scene in that movie
where they're filming a fictional Scream 4 with Wes Craven and Shannon Doherty, and oh my god, it was great.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I was just like, wow, they full circled this and connected them together. It's fantastic. And then my liner note here, I have, cool, great. Gail Weathers is still a bitch, and her bangs are horrendous.
Yeah. It looks like a Lego figure haircut.
You can't talk about Scream 3 without referencing those bangs. Like those bangs are cemented in our pop culture as much as the franchise is. It's like they're their own separate entity. And I remember a really good friend of mine. She got at my job. She got bangs. And they looked great, but they were a little like poofy, so they were kind of sitting a little higher up than how normally they like. And she had just got it done. So I walk up to her, and her and I have that sarcastic sense of humor with each other and everything. And I just look at her, and I'm like, "Who cut your bangs? Scream 3?" And then, and then she was just like, "You were the biggest piece of shit."
Oh, you were just channeling your Gale Weathers. That was all you were doing.
There's a little bit of Gale in all of us.
There is, yeah, there kind of has to be with our current society. So,
but Gale there is one of the coolest Gale scenes, I think, in 3, where the entire movie takes place on the set of Stab 3.
Yeah, most of it, which I really love that aspect about Scream 3, especially the scene when Sid walks onto the set and then just suddenly sees Woodsboro right there, but it's in like a warehouse, and it's just, I thought that was just so cool.
It's cool, and that also brings in like the heavy Scooby-Doo aspect of it, where she goes through one door and she's in a different house, and then opens another door and she's like above like her bedroom. And I was like, it's so cool. But cool. There's the moment where you're going, all right, when's Gale gonna get hit?
Yeah, she didn't get punched in Scream 3.
Gale punches the actress that plays her. Supposed to play her in the Stab movie.
So meta.
Wonderful Parker Posey in this movie. The miscongeniality of this movie. Best thing in this movie is Parker Posey.
I thought it was perfect. Just Dewey as a whole through 1, 2, and 3. That dude is just a human pincushion and just keeps getting back up. It blows my mind. So when he was killed in 5, it was one of those moments where I'm like, but he's okay, right? Like he's not actually dead.
We're so used to it now. But now I called it before the movie even came out. I'm like, they are going to kill one of them, and it's going to be Dewey. But it's still like when he did get killed, it's still like it was still upsetting because we had been with these characters for so long and we've grown with them, and I knew it was coming, but still I just remember had a sense after the scene ended and then Gale arriving at the hospital outside, and it kind of really set in like, oh my God, we just literally just lost one of a huge character here that we've grown with. So
yeah. All right, so let's move on to 4.
Yes.
The first Scream I ever saw.
So we had, was it Charlie and Jill?
Yes.
And they also killed the 9 people. Now, this is where you have to take over because
oh no,
I didn't get to watch it, unfortunately. I know Kirby was in it, so and what's her name? Lily?
Emma Stone?
Emma Roberts.
Emma Roberts.
Yes.
Yeah, she's Jill.
Who's Emma Stone?
So, yeah.
Nice.
So okay, yeah, they off the cops. Anthony Anderson, who was in Scary Movie, one of the Scary Movies, is now in a Scream movie. So it's
got to be the most memorable kill in the entire movie.
Yeah, they off the cops. They off the 2 blonde girls in the opening scene. Marnie the Carney and Jenny Randall, and oh gosh, obviously they get Robbie, they get what's her face, the next door neighbor, oh my gosh, I can't remember her name, Yeah, I don't know, total brain fart. It'll come to me. I know it. It's been a little bit since I watched 4, so.
Yeah. I'm stuck now, and I'm going to rent it tonight because I'm this far into this. Like, I can't. I'm gonna finish it. I have no choice.
I'm gonna crawl through that finish line. So help me.
Yeah, crawl through that barbed wire to the finish line is really what it feels like.
At the end of Scream 6.
So obviously, I don't have a liner note, but is Gail still a bitch?
Gail is in Scream 4. Gail's still a bitch, but she is a more reformed bitch. She's more of a desperate bitch by Scream 4 because now, it's been 10 years since the events of 3, so she's now not reporting anymore. She's now just the sheriff's wife, and she has written more fictional books, because in Scream 4 we're up to 7 stab movies now. So,
right.
But now she's got writer's block, and so no, she's still a bitch, but she's a desperate bitch in Scream 4. So,
and she's fixed her hair. No terrible streaks. No bad bangs.
No bangs. Like, the hair's on point in Scream 4. Although I do love her hair in Scream 2. Like, everybody in Scream 2 just looked fucking hot.
Yeah.
Like, rewatching all of them before 6 came out, and I'm just kind of looking at how everybody looks and the main trio and everything. I'm like, yeah, no, Scream 2, like, that's their peaks right there.
There was I did have a note in 1 where they talk smack about Tori Spelling, and I was like, yo, leave Tori Spelling alone. Like, what the hell?
And then Scream 2, Tori is playing Sydney in Stab. So, like, that was just like so great. It was so meta, and yeah.
They got her to come in. They were like, we're really sorry about this. Like, just be on screen for a minute. Like, our bad. I was like, all right. Oh, but I do want to go back to 3 real quick before we go any further. Speaking of meta, who would have thought that the character of the producer of the Stab movies would literally just be playing Harvey Weinstein? Like, there is an entire scene where he talks about parties that he threw so that actresses could be taken advantage of to get roles. And I'm just like,
it's so sick.
There was like you straight up were just like, and Harvey Weinstein produced that movie. Was he
he was admitting to it.
Yeah, I feel like he had to, or he was just like, it'd be really cool.
And we see how that worked out for him.
Dude, what a scumbag. Like, oh my God. All right.
It's my confession. Scream 3.
Seriously, I think that's what they should have used on the stand. They were like, oh, did you see Scream 3? Because this was him. So in 5, we have, what, 3 killers? No, 2 killers, right?
We're back to 2.
Yeah, so it's Amber and Richie.
Mm-hmm.
And we are back to the same kill count as 1. We have six kills in this movie. So there's a repeating number of kills. There are one movie that stands out where there's less. Like, it's 6 and 9 seems to be the repeating number, because in 6 there are 9 kills also. So 2 is the outlier with 8. They didn't want to keep the pattern, apparently. I don't know why. But
didn't find their niche yet.
Yeah. So obviously I don't have notes for that either. So I'm just gonna put this down. But obviously we know 2 is your favorite, Chris. I mean, you're wearing the shirt. There's a poster in the background that is
actually that's Stab 2.
Stab 2. I stand corrected. I'll see myself out. So aside from 2, if you had to pick only one other Scream movie, just one,
removing the original out of the equation, because everybody's always going to pick the original. So, yeah. Okay, so out of the crop of the rest of the sequels, now here's my thing. I mean, I'm gonna be a little biased. You know, I'm gonna be biased because obviously this is my in my top two favorite franchises of all time. The first being Halloween, removing the last three movies, but we're not going to talk about that. You know, I don't feel that any of the Screams are like bad. Like they're all consistent. They all keep within the same DNA of each other. I mean, I believe that there are stronger sequels than others. So that's how I look at the Scream franchise. So I guess if I had to pick my next favorite one after two, you know, I'm gonna say I might still give it to Scream 4 because there's things about Scream 4 that I just think are so much fun. It's the most meta of all of them. And it's, you know, I loved the fake out stab openings, and I mean, I had my doubts about Emma Roberts at first, but then when she does that whole third act of that movie and sets up the murder scene and is just throwing herself into picture frames on walls and everything. And I remember being in the theater like, this bitch is fucking nuts.
Emma Roberts.
And like, we haven't seen that before in any of the Screams. Like, you know, I'm like, you know what? I'm here for this. I love this. I'm rooting for Jill. And an interesting thing. Now, Scream 4 was originally supposed to set up a new trilogy, so they like 5 and 6 were already, you know, in the cards. Like Kevin Williamson, when he was writing 4, was setting it up to do 2 more movies. And there's not really much about like what his original version of 6 was going to be, but I know I recently discovered what his original idea for 5 was going to be, and that was Jill was going to survive Scream 4, and so she was going to go off to college, and another ghost face was going to follow her to college and start killing people, but knowing though she's was Ghostface in Woodsboro. So I was like, okay, that's kind of cool.
So I mean,
so would they have just taken Jill and made her the protagonist then, or would she still be Psycho?
I don't know. That's the thing. Like that's kind of like the mind twist that Kevin Williamson was going to play around with in his original version of 5. But obviously, Scream 4 underperformed, which I blame it due to. I mean, it didn't have good marketing. Like they just, you know, at the time when 4 came out, the landscape had changed. Same thing as it when Scream 3 came out. Like we were coming out of the slasher era of the late 90s, and now we're getting into more of the supernatural stuff. We're getting into all the Japanese remakes, and so yeah, same thing with Scream 4. It's just by the time 4 came out, like, you know, movies like Saw, you know, Saw, Hostel, you know, all of like the hardcore brutal stuff was at the top of the pyramid at the time. So, and yeah, I just think it didn't have great marketing. And I mean, these last 2 movies had phenomenal marketing. So, but yeah, sadly 4 just didn't make it.
Yeah. So it sounds like what they were planning on doing was kind of rebooting, because Scream 2 is Sydney's off at college. And so doing the same thing, but now making the previous Ghostface the protagonist instead of the antagonist. I mean, I would have been very interested in seeing that. I feel like that would have been the right direction to go with it. Yeah. And probably would have sold me on the franchise, where you start to feel empathy for a killer. I think it would have been cool.
But all right, where are we now, fellas? Are we up to? Okay.
I was going to bring up what I've attempted to watch multiple times and keep noping out, like right around episode 2 or 3, the Scream series, the TV show that MTV did.
I forgot about that. Oh my God!
I keep trying to watch that for one reason, and one reason only.
Right.
That mask is amazing.
Okay.
That's it. That's the only reason. The mask is terrifying. You're like, I see the mask and I'm like, that's really uncomfortable to look at. But it's so bad. It's like 90210 meets like just the worst horror idea. Not even a movie, just an idea of horror.
I tried to rewatch the show again before Scream 6 came out, and I'm just like,
yeah.
I can't. I can't.
Can you sell us on 6? Because we just spent like the last hour just picking apart that movie. I told Rob when I watched it, I was like, I'm not going to pick this apart. I'm not going to just text you throughout the whole thing. That was a lie. I have our entire conversation, and it's just ragging on 6. We love the kills. We love the mask. The framing of the shots is great.
Fire in that one.
Yeah.
But everything else just is a major miss for me. And Rob, I'm sure you're probably in the same boat.
I had a great time with Scream 6. It reminded me, I mean, as we were talking about how much it mirrors Scream 2. So, and I even remember saying to a friend of mine when 6 was coming out, I was just like, I don't remember this much hype around a Scream movie since Scream 2. So it was just kind of like reliving 1997 all over again. So I loved it. I was all here for it. I mean, I watched part 1 of this, while you guys were going at it. And you guys had a lot of really valid points where, there are things in 6 that, I rewatched it recently and once it dropped on streaming, and now rewatching it and you guys talking about a lot of those points, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Can I sell you on it? I mean, that's entirely up to you guys because, I think the movie, I mean, it does its job. It's a great freaking time. And it definitely uses the New York setting very well. And probably I'm going to go out and say, I mean, not just because it's a Scream movie, and obviously I'm a huge fan, but we've had other horror movies set in New York, and this by far is the only one that literally used that the best for the entire movie, not at the third act of the movie after you escape from a cruise ship. So
how dare you?
Don't get me wrong.
I'm not spend a lot of it in the sewers of Manhattan. So what?
I have grown to have an appreciation for Jason Takes Manhattan. I recently rewatched it actually before Scream 6 came out. I'm like, oh, it's been a while. So, and I'm like, you know what? This is a fun movie. I even like it. All the scenes on the cruise ship.
Yeah.
So, but this one, I think did it very well. The bodega scene, that's my favorite scene in the whole movie. We got a lot of that in that second trailer, and it's just, and even watching it in the movie, it's like even better. And I mean, there is a lot of suspension of disbelief in this movie. Like the shotgun, no, if that really happened, yeah, that guy's wrist would have been broken from that blowback.
Yeah.
And, and then, Chad getting stabbed a million freaking times and, oh, we're going to wheel him on out. Oh, he's okay. We get a kiss too. Like, if he was still alive, that mofo would not even be able to move. He'd be white as hell. He would be passed out. Like, he's not going to be all happy-go-lucky, let me kiss my girl thing. So
he was also bleeding profusely from the mouth. Does nobody know what universal precautions are?
One thing I did like about 6 is there was a lot of like these two newer Screams. There's a lot of face stabbing,
Yeah.
and like we didn't have that. And like I mean, we got one face stab in Scream 4, and that was in the forehead, but. Like in these new ones, like there's so much of like cheeks and noses and everything, and I'm like, good God.
There was a face stab in, I think it was 3. The guy goes into the bathroom and he thinks he hears somebody. He puts his head against the stall.
No, it was 2. It was 2. That was the opening scene.
Yeah.
All right,
there we go. So yeah,
but that was just one. Like, there's like a bunch in these new ones, but
so here's a question for you. Do you think that they are trying to set up Chad to be the new Dewey?
A pin cushion.
Literally, he's survived that many stabbings. You go
You
back
know,
to like,
after seeing this, you know, I would not be well, and Mindy too. Mindy too. She got stabbed in the last movie too. So
yeah,
it's like it's a twin thing. So, you know, I would not put it past them if they set Chad up to be the new pincushion. So, because that's definitely the rate they're going. And I'm sorry, Mindy getting out of the hospital and walking to the ambulance. They gave me so many drugs, and I love Mindy as a character. I think she's great, but I'm just like,
Sure.
there's no way they would have let you out of that hospital walking out like that.
no.
It's like the
Man.
hospital in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Nobody's there. Everybody can walk around. It's perfectly okay.
Yeah, there's so many moments. I mean, that's it's a trope in horror movies. So you've got to, if you have a hospital, you have to have it be empty at some point.
Oh, of course.
You have to. All right. Well, I think this is a pretty good point. Chris, you have some things that you're working on right now, and some things coming up that we want to know about. And the minute we started this, JB was in the chat immediately asking you to spill the tea on this amazing movie that you were just working on. So let's hear a little bit about what you've been up to, what you got coming out, and plug the Mer world for us too.
Oh man, gosh, all right. Well, all right, here we go. So I just recently wrapped production on a movie called Crackoon. Yeah, it is. It is what it is. You know, as you guys know, Cocaine Bear came out earlier this year, and this is basically, you know, now that movie has created a brand new subgenre of animals on drugs running amok. So
I'm here for it.
So now there's Meth Gator in the works. So, you know, Brad Twigg, director I've worked with for 10 years, great guy. He obviously did not waste any time. So when he told me he was going to do Crackoon, I didn't think he was serious at first. He was like, no, we have a poster already and the script is being written. And I'm like, okay. So I play this character named Denny, and he is a gay drug dealer. So, yeah, it's definitely, and it was my first role in 3 years. So not since I wrapped production playing the Ringmaster in Shriek Show. So I think for my co-star, Justin Martin, he said it best on set. He said he was like, "Boo boo, this is a complete 180 from the Ringmaster. Like, what a way to come back into film." I was like, "Yeah, you think?" It's definitely one of the most fun roles I have played, and I'm a few years shy of my 20th anniversary in film and television. So it's hard to believe, but I agree with that though. It's definitely one of my favorite roles I've done. I can't wait for everybody to see it. It's going to be so ridiculous. It's going to be such a good time, and so that'll probably be out by the end of the year or early next year. So
awesome.
So that is one thing I did wrap on recently. I will be shooting a cameo in Wrestle Massacre 2 later this summer. So as my character from the first Wrestle Massacre, so he's called Slade, and he also pops in an earlier film of Brad's, MILFs vs. Zombies.
Oh my god. All these titles rule.
Yeah. And a lot of these are on Tubi, a lot of these are on streaming, so yeah, definitely give them a watch, especially Shriek Show.
Yeah.
And then other than that, I'm currently, I'm also a screenwriter. I'm working on a slasher movie right now that I'm hoping one day will be my directorial debut. So it's been something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I want to do it. It's just the timing's not right yet. So I use each movie I do now as like a stepping stone and a learning process. And so I have that I'm working on, and then as far as the I will say that we are slowly in development on Shriek Show 2 because the plan is we want to make it a trilogy. If 2 is well accepted, of course, but we're going to bring the Ringmaster back in a very big way, and Shriek Show, he's just kind of cracking his knuckles. Like you're gonna see him doing a lot of horrible, scary, dangerous things in 2, and you're really gonna see like the monster that he really is. So first movie, tip of the iceberg.
Without spoiling,
yeah, I can't.
Unlike our podcast, are you going Art the Clown with this? Like there was All Hallows Eve, and then Terrifier came out. Like Art was basically the Ringmaster is basically Art from All Hallows Eve, where he's there. This segment.
The Ringmaster is not Art the Clown. Or the Ringmaster is in charge of everyone. Right. So,
yes.
I will say, I get what you mean. We are definitely upping the ante in 2, especially for the Ringmaster, because that was one thing I made very firm to Brad when we've been already plotting Shriek Show 2 since we had the premiere of the first movie last year. So that very night I got home from the premiere and me and Brad were already texting and we were like, what are we going to do with 2? Like, what are we going to bring? What are the changes we're going to make? And so yeah, I will be the Ringmaster will be much more terrifying in this one.
I'm very excited.
There's going to be some prosthetics involved on my face. That's all I will say. I'm currently writing some of it right now. So, and yeah, I'm really excited. I don't want to tell you guys what the plot is going to be, but I'm really excited to do it. So we are hoping we can start production on it fall of next year.
Ooh.
So I told Brad, I want the first one to have a little bit of a shelf life now that it's hit all the streaming services for a little bit, but I also don't want to wait too long to make a sequel to it because, I don't want to pull a Scream 4 and 5 and wait 10 freaking years. So, but that's all I can say about it. People know what we have planned, and when I told some of these people what it's going to be, I did spill a little bit of the tea on the Raccoon set, and when I told them what we were planning, they were just like, I'm like, yeah. Art the Clown and Pennywise are not the only clowns.
Okay,
we're just getting started.
Hell yeah.
And people can find you on your Instagram page.
Yeah, it's under the account I'm streaming from right now, Merman Christian. I'm celebrating my 10 years of professional mermanning, and ocean conservation, and yeah, 10. It's kind of really hard to believe, but yeah, 10 years.
Congratulations.
I jumped in. No pun intended. I jumped in when the term professional merman wasn't even a thought or a blip on the radar. So,
and like I mentioned at the end of last week's episode, this streaming idea simply came from you. Like, you do this. It's every other Monday, correct?
Every other Monday, yeah.
So Merman Mondays.
Yep. You
can find Christian right here. Yep. On his thing, and they do every other Monday. Yep. Awesome stream. I'm not part of the Merman community, and I watch because it's just it's intriguing.
It does. Myself, and shout out to my co-host Capital Merman. So we're in our second season of it. It's doing great, and we are actually in the mermaid community. We are up for podcast of the year. So
that's awesome.
So any more Scream talk? I mean, I've been waiting for this juice here. Like, we've been talking about the kill counts so far, and it's like, I love the trivial aspects of this franchise. And
but Jason, you've got a lot that you wanted to bring up. So
yeah.
Yes.
Go.
So what would you say if you had to rank all of them?
Okay.
What would your 1 through 6 be? for the
Right.
movies.
Now, is this like my own personal ranking?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. Obviously, Scream 2, number one for me. Like I said, first one I saw in the theater. I love the movie theater opening. And ironically, when I went to see it opening weekend, I was like young. I was, that was 97. So I was 13. And my aunt took me to see it opening weekend. It was a Saturday matinee. That theater was just as packed and just as crazy as the theater in the opening of the movie. So it was such a good time, and that'll always be. And I think Sydney is at her like prime in Scream 2. Like she really is a fighter when she says it in that movie. And I love this college setting. I love the cinematography and the use of like those big open college fields, like the whole Randy Death scene, like the camera work in that scene, like some of those aerial shots are so cool. And that was also that was our first introduction of Stab. So that would go on to change kind of the course of the franchise. So so 2's my favorite, then the first movie, then Scream 4, and then I'm gonna give the next one. I'm gonna give it to 6, and I have my reasons for that, and then 5, and then 3.
All right.
Because yes, it is Scream 5, not fucking Scream. It's Scream 5. That is a title trend I've been wanting to say, and I want to acknowledge that on here. That is a title trend I'm so sick of with franchises. Like I need it to die already. Like it is Scream 5. And what's hilarious now is now the writers and now they have said, oh no, we always called it Scream 5. It was the studio that jumped in there and made us change the title to just Scream, and even we thought it was stupid. So, but I thought it was funny in Scream 5 that they kind of like threw that shade a little bit at the studio with Stab 8. They were like, just call it Stab 8. That's what it is. Like, we're not stupid.
Yeah. You know what I did?
And that's
I did notice was the title screen, like the title for Scream 5 is now they did what they did with Scream 6, where they Roman numerals.
Yeah.
The V is in there now. I noticed that today, and I was just like, oh, they fixed it. They fixed it.
I mean, to be fair, I'm not a big fan of Roman numerals when it comes to movies. Like, the only time I really loved Roman numerals was for all the Saw sequels, because they just looked great with it.
Oh, yeah.
And I did like the use of the Roman numeral in the marketing for Scream 6, but I was just like, when the title came up in the movie, I was kind of hoping like it would just be like, a numerical 6, just to kind of keep it on par with the other ones, but whatever. I'm not going to nitpick something so small.
All right, so when it comes down to the teen slasher, because this really like, I feel like Scream as a whole reformulated what a teen slasher was. Because you go back and you look at like Friday the 13th, that was a specific style.
Yeah.
They really bring that up in Scream, and that's part of it. So they reformulated it. The same writer for Scream wrote one of my favorite teen slashers, I Know What You Did Last Summer. And that followed the same formula that Scream did.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where do you stand on the new formula? Like, it changed, but it didn't change a lot.
It didn't change a lot. I feel that like slashers like now continue to borrow from Scream, but just like I feel like the slashers now just haven't quite found their footing just yet. But now, like the way horror is now, it's way more, it's more intense. It's like horror that gets under your skin and stays with you. And like, I mean, Jenna Ortega said it kind of best in Scream 5, where she mentioned like Hereditary, It Follows, and everything. And like, I'll tell you what, like I will go on here and I will publicly say Hereditary scared the shit out of me. Because it takes a lot to get under my skin these days and to scare me with a horror movie. But that movie, I will never watch that again, because that sat with me for weeks.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
it's haunting.
like
That's
Ari
not
Aster is crazy. He's brilliant, but he is crazy. And I'm like, no, I'm not even gonna go see Beau is Afraid. I'm like, I cannot sit through another movie of his. And I put Hereditary as actually the second most terrifying movie I have ever seen that I will never watch again. The first being the original Pet Cemetery. Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay. Very opposite sides of the
Yeah.
spectrum, but
Too,
respect.
it's too much. But getting back on topic here with slashers now, like I said, I feel like they're trying to bring that flavor of Scream back, but but they don't quite like have it yet. It's like it's getting a little closer, but it's not there yet. So those are
All
my
right.
thoughts on
Yeah.
that. But yes, no, I like with Scream, it's just, at the time, I look at Scream as being the horror movie that literally saved horror in the 90s. Because you look at the early like you have pre-Scream 90s and you have post-Scream 90s. So the pre-Scream that's at the time when, we had the big three, we had Michael Myers, Jason, Freddy, they all had brand new movies in the first half of the 90s, and all of those movies were not successful. Like at the time, everybody was kind of just like, yeah, we're kind of done with these guys. And but I mean, we did have a couple gems in there. Like we got Candyman out of it in the early 90s. Candyman was great. That was something different. And I'm trying to think what else popped up here and there. But yeah, no, horror was not kind. The 90s, early 90s were not kind of horror. So then Scream comes along, this whole new thing that's in your face, but it's self-aware of all the movies that that we have all grown up with. And you know, I and I understand, like, when it comes, everybody's criticism and critique, anytime they release a brand new movie. And like now, like Scream is back. Like Scream is back in a big, big way. And I honestly never thought this franchise would come back like this hardcore and this strong. Like when Scream 3 came out, they were, remember, they were real adamant about like, nope, we're done. We're done after this. But then 10 years later, we get the amazing Scream 4. But then Wes Craven died. So then, like, that was like the nail in the coffin. No pun there. So, but when I heard that the guys who did Ready or Not were in charge of the new Scream, I was like, okay.
So, Chris, you just got a question in the chat. You were asked, how do you feel about Sydney not being in Scream 6? That's a really good question.
That's a great question. Honestly, I love Neve Campbell. I love her to death. But honestly, I thought I was gonna not like 6 as much as I did because she was not in it. But once I saw the movie, I was like, I honestly didn't miss her in it. But I felt in a sense because there would have been no place for her in the movie. Like Gail makes sense because it's set in New York and that's where Gail lives now. And she has her talk show there that we saw for a second in Scream 5, and like it makes sense for Gail to be in it, but not Sydney. Like why is Sydney going to come to New York just to protect Sam and Tara? Like she did that in 5, and so yeah, I really was not bothered, and it showed me that, okay, maybe this franchise can survive without Nev. But I will say, when they do 7, because we know what's going to happen, I will say, though, I'm like, hey, the woman, get her back, and I don't want no side-ass role. I want her, like, front and center. Give her, like, Scream 2 energy. No more of this side shit. Give us Sydney. Give Sydney one more final bow and blow out film. That's what I want for the next one.
I'll have to get
I want Sydney back. I want Gail dead.
As much as I love Gail, at least if you're really gonna off Gail, give her a proper farewell, not some half-ass stab out in an apartment. Like give her a good little swan song. Dewey got his. Give Gail hers. Let Sydney walk out of those ashes.
Just somebody just needs to punch her off of a building.
And that's another thing too. Like where are they going to set Scream 7? It's like I've heard people say, "Oh, take it back to Hollywood," and I'm like, yeah, but not everybody loved Hollywood. And so yeah, I'm curious to see where Seven's going to go. I don't think it should go back to Woodsboro. Like, there's no point in going back to Woodsboro.
Keep it in New York. Honestly, I think keeping New York as the backdrop, showing more of the city this time, I think they could if
I've heard a lot of other
to,
people say that too.
Yeah, and if they wanted to do the Hollywood like feeling like they did with 3, they could very well just bring it to the studio.
Yeah, the future of the franchise. I'll just say right off the bat, I never in a million years, and I touched on this in part 2, I never in a million years thought we would have, like, Scream would get to 6 movies. Like, I never thought that would ever happen. So it's kind of very surreal. And I jokingly said this to somebody the other day. I was like, man, if we get Scream 7, like, we're gonna be up to, Scream is going to mirror the amount of stab movies.
Stabs.
So,
yeah. Oh, and that's where we left off was, if the thought of possibly going back to Hollywood, but not really wanting to go back to Hollywood happens, and we want to kill Gail, which we want Gail dead, we can go to her studio. Like, that makes the most sense. She has it. Like, she shoots a show.
yeah.
We could have it in an entire New York style building.
I saw this article, and it was how much more meta can the Scream franchise get? And this article basically said, what if like Scream 7 opens just
They're in space.
as it did with the first Scream, with the Drew Barrymore phone call, but it's Drew Barrymore playing Casey Becker. So, like, to get Drew Barrymore in the movie playing her character in Scream 1, the more I read this article, I can't remember what site. I think maybe it might have been Screen Rant. And the more I read this, I was like, that would be fucking awesome.
It sounds a bit New Nightmare-esque to me.
Yeah, it would kind of be like a little throwback to New Nightmare, which I think is one of my favorite Nightmare on Elm Streets. So, yeah. I'm sure Drew Barrymore would do it too. Like, she loves Scream. She has promoted the hell out of it on her show, and I bet she would do it. So I thought that was really cool. Like, what a way to open up a movie, and of a franchise that's already meta as hell and self-aware in itself. So yeah, it was cool. If I can find the article, I'll send it to you guys.
Yes, please do. I think it'd be cool if they like brought her back, but it's like her and her boyfriend, and it's Jamie Kennedy. And they're like sitting on the couch together. You're like, oh, cool. So we got them both back, and then they both die.
But I would
be awesome. And it's
would want Sydney to be
Stu comes back out,
and if they did that,
with
have
that,
Stu just kill him with a TV.
Yeah. With that, do you believe that Stu Macher is still alive? Because that's been a fan theory for a while, and they kind of said it in 6. It's like,
thought Kirby was dead for 10 years, and we got that one little blinking you'll miss at Easter egg in Scream 5.
In the YouTube recommended video.
Lo and behold, we got her back the following movie. So, I'm at this point in time, I'm like, if they don't have Stu come back in some sort of sense in the next one, like, I feel like at this point you have to do that. Like, you have to, like, you gave the fans what they wanted, you brought Kirby back, so, do it with something. So do something with Matthew Lillard.
I mean,
have him come back.
He's gone on record saying he wants to do it.
Oh yeah,
he's all about it.
Absolutely. And I haven't personally met him, but I've been in the same room with Matthew Lillard, and I've seen how he interacts with his fans and everything. Super sweet guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I met him at Comic-Con a few years back.
Oh, okay.
he's got a table. He doesn't sit
Nope.
behind the table. He's in front of his table.
He doesn't.
He doesn't like to. That's a barrier that he doesn't want. He wants to be closer to the fans, and I thought that was really nice.
Actually, I have not met any Scream people. The only person I've met is Marley Shelton, and I met her last year. Such a peach, great, super sweet woman, and I just walked up to her. It was Sunday, everything was kind of slowly closing down, and she was just sitting behind her table, and nobody was in her line. But I just walked up to her in my ringmaster costume, no less, and I just told her, I was like, first of all, Marley, I'm sorry that you have to meet me like this. And then she was like, no. She's like, I need your picture right now. So she took a picture of me, and but then I shook her hand and I told her, I was like, I've been a big fan of your work for a really long time, and I just, and I started asking her, because that was her first convention that she had ever done, and I just kind of stood there with her for a while and just asked her questions about it and how she was feeling, and I talked a little bit about promoting Shriek Show at another convention and at Creature Feature, and then she asked me about other projects I had been in. So she's just such a sweet lady. I definitely recommend talking to her if she's ever at a con that you're at.
Absolutely.
With you bringing up that you've never met like Scream people at a con,
Yeah.
I went to Silver Scream Con in Danvers, Mass. Met Felissa Rose, and at the table right next to her, Skeet Ulrich was supposed to be there, but there was instead the actor who played Deputy Doofy from Scary Movie.
Oh, cool.
So that's about as close as I'll get to it.
I know David Arquette was recently at Monster Mania here in Hunt Valley. I wanted to pop down and meet him for a day, but I couldn't make it work. But a couple of my con friends that went and got to meet him said that he was absolutely wonderful. So super down to earth. So
That's awesome.
So I've got another question for you.
Yes.
With the whole requel business and everything, and we heard kind of in part 2 a little meh on the new Halloween trilogy. I see I see part 5 as kind of taking a lot of influence from Halloween 2018.
Oh, absolutely.
Where it feels like, cool, let's get everybody back again, but like, let's make this grittier with more stakes. You can actually kill somebody now.
Yeah. No, I agree. I fully agree.
Yeah. We actually, Chris and I had a bit of a conversation yesterday about about Halloween Ends, and I mean I know this is a Scream episode, but the past 3 Halloween movies are extremely divisive, and I think that also holds true to the past 2 Scream movies, where we are talking to an expert, somebody who loves this franchise, but I know people who loved the franchise before, and now the past 2 movies have left a very sour taste in their mouth.
I have a couple of friends that are the same exact way.
Yeah. My worry is that we're going to start seeing this resurgence of more franchises going the route that Halloween went,
Yeah.
but not executing it properly. I think, all right, here's praise outside of Scream 3 I'll give Scream. I think that they used the right things from that Halloween did for these past 2 movies. The mask being weathered, I think, was a really smart move. Granted,
yeah, I mean, obviously it was biting off of Halloween 2018, but no, I was, like you were saying, I was okay with that. Like, that was a choice. That was a good choice. Like, I mean, I love the mask. It's iconic. It has an iconic story behind it. But, at this point in time, we're in the 6th movie. Like, change that shit up. And when I saw that they made it an aged mask, I was like, woo, praise the Lord. Thank you, Radio Silence.
Yeah.
And it looked badass. Like, I can't wait to get one. There's a guy that I've been wanting to order from on Etsy that makes like a really good one. And I know that Fun World's going to bring out the mask for Halloween this year, but I'm like, no, I want a custom made one, because mine's gonna look better than that mass produced looking thing. So
It's like getting a mask from Trick or Treat Studios.
yes,
Like they're great molds, but the finishes are always a flip of a coin.
Yeah.
As I look over at my Halloween 2018, my Halloween Kills, my Halloween Ends.
I will say I do have they did do a bang up job on the Halloween 3 masks though. Like I have the pumpkin. I cannot wait to get the witch and the skeleton. So yeah, those were on point.
Those are the best masks too, and that was Halloween Kills really did probably too much to bring back to the past movies, but seeing the Season of the Witch masks being introduced into that was
I did like that. I did like that. So it was
They
like
were
a little
blink and you'll miss it
nod to
moment in
them.
18 too.
Yeah.
So
those kids were great too. It's too bad they had to die because I would love more of them just talking. Hey, Mister. Hey, Mr. Weirdo. Like
oh no, see,
it was
I
like
would,
it wasn't
so I was so ready for those kids to get it. I'm like, for God's sake.
There are a lot of things that that I feel like the general public wouldn't know about, that like the Scream movies, the writing process, the changing of hands in writers. One of the coolest little tidbits that I found out was that the voice, like the Ghostface voice, has been the same guy for
Roger L. Jackson.
All 6 movies. I was like, that's amazing. What are your thoughts about the writer change? Like we had, you could tell too when the writers changed between 2 and 3. Like it's a huge change.
It's a big difference. At the time, by the time they started doing early pre-production on Scream 3, like Kevin Williamson was so in demand at the time. Like he was finishing up Dawson's Creek. He was writing he had just come off of writing a treatment for Halloween H2O at the time, and he was getting ready to gear up and write his directorial debut, Teaching Mrs. Tingle. So he did write a 50-page treatment for Scream 3, and a lot of like the Stab 3 set and everything, that was from his original treatment. Originally, Stu was alive in Scream 3, and he was in jail coaching these new people on what to do, and Scream 3 was originally supposed to take place back in Woodsboro. So if you look at Scream 4, a lot of Scream 4 is a lot of the ideas that Kevin did not get to do with Scream 3. So but then then the dipshit Weinsteins jumped in there and they brought Aaron Kruger in, and I'm not saying Aaron Kruger's a bad writer, because he did a phenomenal job with the American remake of The Ring. Like he redeemed the hell out of himself from Scream 3. So but yeah, no, it's definitely a different tone, and I think it's because Aaron Kruger did not know these characters. Like he didn't create these characters, he didn't build with them, and so I think that had a big chunk of why there's that tone in Scream 3 and why just the characters kind of seem a little bit off. Yeah. And another thing, like I know the studio wanted to do Scream 3 practically bloodless because it was not long after what happened at Columbine, which now that's a regular daily thing in the country. But Wes Craven was the one that jumped in there and was like, guys, we either make a Scream movie or we call it something else. Like, we have to have certain things in here. So a lot of that was like the blood in Scream 3 was mostly from Wes Craven, and but as far as the radio silence team now with the new movies, I think they're doing well for now. For now. There really isn't. I mean, from part 1, you guys ripping on the core 4 thing, and that made me laugh so hard.
Evil died.
Oh my God. No, I agree. I really do not. I really don't want it to evolve into Evil Dies Tonight because I hated that so much in Halloween Kills, and I just so far y'all like Radio Silence. Don't F it up.
Yeah. I mean, it's the only way they really can mess it up is if they really do go 3 with it, like full on 3. They turn it more into. See, the reason I like 3 is it's a horror comedy.
Yeah, 3
it is
basically became the cliches that 1 and 2 were making fun of without.
I mean, it is
knowing it.
It is fully categorized as a comedy horror.
Yeah.
And if you look up 4 isn't even categorized as a horror. It's just categorized as a comedy. Yeah. And I was just like, okay. Like, that is the only way that this franchise could potentially do more damage to itself is by making 7 a comedy.
And I think that's why one thing I do like about the newer Screams is that there's not a lot of that comedy in there. Like, I mean, as much as I love Scream 4, like rewatching it, I introduced a friend of mine to the entire franchise before 6 came out, and just rewatching Scream 4, and I'm just kind of really sitting back, and I'm like, there was way too much jokes in this, and we got some brutal ass kills in Scream 4, like way more brutal than 3 and 2, which I loved, but there's just you still had a bit of that leftover jokiness from 3 and 4, but when 5 came along, there was like hardly any of that.
No, it's played very seriously.
Yeah, which I've been wanting a much more serious Scream movie, so that's why I really enjoyed Scream 6 because like they kicked that shit up like way higher. And I'm like, thank you. This is what I've been wanting. So
I think I'll speak for myself at this point, but I think you've definitely helped me find somewhat of an appreciation for the series.
I was thinking the same thing during the last part.
Yes.
Well done.
Yeah.
You succeeded. I will be renting 4 tonight. I have to complete the watch. It's going to be tough, but I'm going to do it.
No, you can do it. I believe in you.
It's not going to be as difficult as I thought it was going to be now that this conversation has happened.
No, I love 4. It's so fun, and I remember just when it came out, just how nuts crazy excited I was that the fact that we got another Scream movie, because Scream 3 didn't totally sit well with everybody, and then we get 4, and now 4, I've seen it so many times. Like 4 is regarded as like one of the best, and so it's got a massive cult following.
Well, it's going to get my watch tonight, that's for sure. I mean, I'm
sure you'll be texting me later on. So
there'll be a moment. We'll come back on and have another conversation. But
I don't know if you guys know this, but I sort of have a little bit of a connection to the Scream franchise. So at the time when going back to Scream 4, when we found out in like coverage and everything, and that they were up to 7 stab movies. This director that an indie director from New Hampshire at the time was making his own versions of Stab 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yep. And he had just done 4, and I saw it, and I was just like, okay, obviously this is very indie. But I was like, and he was holding auditions for Stab 5, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna contact this guy. I'm gonna send him my headshot and my resume, and I want to be a part of this. Like, I don't care if it's terrible or if it's great. I want to be a part of this so that way I can say I have a tiny little connection to the Scream franchise, even though it's just a fan film. And I got in it, and I flew out there in the dead of winter, and let me tell you, they all don't mess around with snow in New Hampshire. Like, they're on top of it.
No, we don't.
And then I just
We're gonna see him this past winter.
We both live in New Hampshire.
Oh, well,
so
see, well, I didn't even know that. So, well, then you know what's up. And then he was just so happy with how I did in 5, and he asked me back for 6. So I got stabbed 5 and 6 fan films on my IMDb page, and I look back at them, and it was just a fun time doing those, and yeah. So I got a little thing in there.
So that's also a really good plug too. If you're curious about any of the work that Chris has done, you can find his IMDb page, and it's not like I've done a few things. You've done work. Like, I've gone through it and I've been like, damn. You've done work.
I've had my share of big things and a lot of smaller things, but it's been one hell of a ride. I will say that.
And all the indie work that you've done for the horror community is amazing.
Thank you.
It took me a minute to get around to watching some of them, but I'm glad that I have. And yeah, you're amazing. You're an amazing actor, and I look forward to seeing more of what you do. I'm looking forward to seeing The Ringmaster again too, because
he's coming.
Just the way you conducted yourself and you conducted your horde of carnies was amazing.
I've loaded up Freak Show for after this, so I'm ready for
one of the best takeaways from Shriek Show is I can't remember, maybe it was Horror Society, or it was one of the bigger sites did a review on it, and they singled me out in this review, and they said actor Chris O'Brien is an absolute standout as the Ringmaster in this film, and I had never been singled out in an article from a movie I have ever been in. So that right there was a great moment.
And you do such an amazing job as the Ringmaster. It's so good. And your little cameo in it too is hilarious.
I do. For those who haven't seen Shriek Show yet, which you should.
Yes.
I do have an un-makeup cameo as I think Brad. I think technically I'm my cameo. I'm supposed to be like a racist. And I remember Brad asked me, he was like, "Are you okay with that? Because I know, you're against all that and everything." And I'm like, no, I'm playing a role. It's just a cameo, but it's not me.
Yeah, it's hilarious, and I didn't expect it at all. And I was just like, he's just there with a tall boy, just pissed at the world. I was like, this is hilarious. Thank you so very much for coming on.
Thank you guys.
This was awesome. Please go over, follow Merman Christian. Whether you're part of the Mer community or not, jump in and watch Mer Mondays every other Monday. It's amazing. The community that Chris is part of does amazing work for conserving the oceans, for just helping around the world. It's fantastic. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
But all right.
In case, for anybody watching, in case you guys want to see any of my other work, I do have the link to my IMDb page in my profile on here on Instagram. So
thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for having me. Let's do it again in the fall time when all of the horror fans just go a little extra crazy.
Absolutely. It's gonna be great. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Dude, that was sick.
All right. That was awesome, right? Chris is an amazing human. I'm so glad that I got to meet him in the first place, and that I consider him a friend now. He's just great. Let's just close this out with with some thank yous and a little plugging here and there for some stuff. Why don't you go first? I feel like I've spoken a lot. So,
bro, I don't even know what I've said at this point. But thank you I'll say it. I know you'll say it, and we've already said it. Thank you very much, Chris. It was fantastic to get to meet you and hearing a wealth of knowledge. Again, Scream hasn't been at the top of my slasher list, but that was fantastic to get that insight and get a little bit more extra knowledge that I appreciate it that much more now. Thank you, Rob. This show continues. I know we're only on episode 2, but I feel like I'm churning out movies in my brain. It's like, what do we do next? What do we do next?
I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, thank you again to, we're going to probably say it every time, Camp Nightmare, who we would not have met each other if not for.
Yes.
We wouldn't be doing something like this if not for their inspiration. I forgot to say in what's keeping us up at night, I Twitch over at twitch.tv/feistycheese. You can find it in my bio. The game Dead Island 2, which has been in the making since like 2011, finally came out. And me and my friend Ryan, we are playing through that game. It's a zombie killing game set in LA, and it's fantastic. So thank you, Ryan, for hopping on and letting me steal you from your wife to play video games into that. So yeah, that's what I got.
I actually forgot to mention that too. I jumped in and I watched that entire stream for, well, the second day. I missed day 1. I was working, but I watched day 2. And you guys are a riot. You just drop kicking zombies left and right. It was hilarious.
Oh yeah. I broke my hair from that game. Ripped off the armrest. It was about time.
I want to send a thank you out again for the millionth time to Chris. Look forward to having you back on here. Again, thank you, JB, for dropping in. It was great to see you in the chat. Thank you, Jordan, just for being you, man. You're an amazing human being. And I want to send a really cool and very random thank you out to Matt Kelly from Horror Movie Night. Horror Movie Night is another podcast that's friends with Camp Nightmare, friends with me, just great people. They've been really supportive of this too, even though we're only on the 2nd episode. They reached out to us before we even dropped episode 1. And I'm actually, I'm wearing one of the shirts right now. Let me just angle that. Yeah, it's Sandworm Jim. So it's an Earthworm Jim crossover with the Sandworm from Beetlejuice. It's an awesome shirt. They make some really amazing shirts. They make even better content. They kind of do something similar to this, but they watch really bad movies and just shit on them. They do spoil them a bit too, this, and they do it in a bit of a shorter time period. But check out Horror Movie Night. Horror Movie Night's awesome. I just want to thank those dudes very, very much. That was. Yeah, what else do we have? We have something else that we wanted to close out with, eh? We're going to do it this way pretty much all the time.
I've been Jason Michael.
Suckers.
That's right.
Yeah, I've been Rob.
Tight suckers. We'll get it.
We'll get it eventually. Sleep tight, suckers. We'll see you later.